Welcome to Culinary Treasure Podcast, episode 87, Todd Bruss, Ruckus Donuts. You are about to embark on a 40-minute journey with Todd and I, where we unfold the story of how Ruckus Donuts came to be. And if you want even more Ruckus Donuts, I invite you to watch episode 2 of the Savory Travel Adventures show. You have to get here. I filmed that episode very early on a crisp September morning right there at Ruckus Donuts. You can find that episode on the Savory Travel Adventures website, or you can simply go to youhavetogethere.com. Now, sit back, open up your heart, and enjoy this incredibly enchanting donut story. Welcome to the Culinary Treasure Podcast. I'm Steven Shomler, your host. Today finds us mid-coast Maine. We're in Rockland, Maine. Have I got one incredible story for you? But if you want to see all of the Culinary Treasure Network's Maine-centric podcasts, be it Maine-centric content, be it culinary podcasts, craft beer podcasts, travel articles, food articles, noteworthy wine journal content, invite you to go to adventuresonthemaincoast.com. But Todd Bruss, is that your last name right? Is that
That's
how you say
correct.
it? Todd Bruss. Yep. You are, you and your wife, Lee, who is freaking amazing. You guys, 34 days ago?
34
days ago, on August 20, 2021, launched Ruckus Donuts. Let's make a ruckus. I absolutely love it. I had your donuts. They are blowing my mind. I consider myself some of a donut aficionado. You know, I love donuts. I love BLTs. I'm very highfalutin, as you can tell. I've had some of the best donuts in the world, which I think some of them come from Portland, Oregon. I'm very opinionated about Portland. I ate way too many of your donuts this morning, and they're absolutely phenomenal. So I cannot wait to introduce people to your journey and your story and your burgeoning donut empire. You make some donuts, and we'll let Lee make incredible business decisions, and you guys will be well on your way.
All right.
I'm pretty intuitive. But questions I ask everyone on all my podcasts: where were you born?
I was born in Sharon, Pennsylvania.
And where'd you go to high school?
Went to high school at Kennedy Christian High School in Hermitage, PA.
And what was the mascot?
The mascot was the Golden Eagles.
Golden Eagles. And then you and your wife moved to Maine roughly 2006.
Correct.
Family brought you out here?
Family brought me out here. We bought Lee's grandmother's or grandparents' house, so our boys are the 4th generation to live in that house.
Yeah, and you're kind of you live in the Rockland area. If people want to look on the map.
We live in Union, about 20 minutes from Rockland.
Yep, so Rockland area, that's where your store is. And, you know, in your time since you've lived here, you've had a couple different jobs. You had a couple different culinary jobs.
Yes.
And which kind of led into where you're at now. You had a job where you finally got to get into baking professionally that you loved. Then you had a cool job, Boyd McKay, right?
Boyd and McKay Food Company in Camden, yes.
Yep, and it's Brian is the owner of Boyd and McKay, and he's like part of your Lee's your secretest, strongest weapon, but he also is a big cheerleader. Helped you get.
Yeah, Brian's my brother from another mother. He has been an amazing friend. He's been an amazing influence. He's given me an atmosphere to thrive in and be creative in, and ultimately also the environment that led us sitting here in a donut shop in Rockland.
Okay, so we're going to come back to Boyd and McKay and to the crazy Polish starter story, which is amazing. Before we do that, you just texted me a picture. What is in that picture? Because I want people to know where your baking journey began.
Right. What is in that picture is a photograph of me sitting under the Christmas tree, Christmas morning, 1970. And I am sitting there in my pajamas next to two things, a Fort Cheyenne and an actual Susie homemaker oven. And so even at that age, there I am, making the little cakes, the little cookies, and all of that in the oven that got heated by the 300 and got heated by the light bulb that would just get ridiculously hot. And so I can honestly say I've been baking for half a century.
And then your mom and your grandma baked?
I was blessed to be surrounded by very good bakers. My mom and my grandmothers are all very good bakers.
And you love baking?
I do love baking. I love eating baking. I love baking. I derive the greatest joy from watching others, enjoy what I've done. And that's just been like, throughout my life, one way or another, even just for as a gift or just for myself, I have baked.
And Boyd McKay is where you had the crazy Polish donut from hell brioche experience, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, tell us that story.
All right. Well, this will be December 2016. And one of my responsibilities at Boyd McKay was making donuts, although they were cake donuts. One of the things I brought to Boyd McKay was that I would make bialy, which is a Polish onion roll.
And that sounds fantastic.
Oh, they're actually, it takes 3 days to make them, and they were very popular. They use a starter that's called a Polish. One December day, I had a starter going because I had planned on making some bialy. We did not get a shipment in of bread flour, which negated my plans for that morning, but I still had this starter that had been bubbling away all night and, had some flavor to it. So I've always wanted to make a yeast donut. So today's the day I'm going to try to make a yeast donut. I look online, type in yeast donut, find a recipe that looks appealing.
And you get started with ingredients and you start making this yeast donut recipe.
Start making the yeast donut recipe, wanting to incorporate to bialy, wanting to add some of my own things that I knew about baking at that time. And literally halfway through the recipe got to the point where it said, okay, now you need to incorporate a half pound of Crisco into the dough.
And you were not emotionally available to do that.
I was not available. I had no desire to put vegetable shortening in anything that I was going to eat or serve someone. So then I refined my search to a brioche yeast donut recipe. Found another recipe. Okay, this looks good. So at that point, I now had the starter from a Polish onion roll. I had half of what I called Satan's donut recipe.
Because it had Crisco in it.
Yes, and then
that offended you deeply.
Yes, and then I had...
How about butter-flavored Crisco? You good with that or no?
Nope. And then I had half of a brioche donut recipe, and as I'd like to say, about a dime's worth of my own 2 cents of things I wanted to do with this. Combine it all, mix it, proof it, roll it, punch it, proofed it, fried it, and handed out the donuts to my peers. And everybody lost their minds, just went crazy, using some words that are perhaps not podcast friendly to describe how good these donuts were. And I knew that I had, as I say, something. And literally from every day since then, I have been making this recipe.
And so at Boyd McKay, eventually, you're their employee.
Yes.
You start on Fridays making your, what is the precursor to your glazed traditional donut that you make here at Ruckus.
Yes.
And you'd make some on Fridays. And somewhere in the story, I think it's really funny. At one point, you were very excited that you made 4 dozen in a day.
It was an incredible effort that I'd actually made 4 dozen donuts, and I was very proud of myself.
And today, I've been here a good part of the day. Today, just an example, you've made 40 dozen.
Yes.
So today you've made 10 times what at one point was a big achievement.
Yes, absolutely. So.
And somewhere along the way, Brian broke his humerus.
Yes, he had a fractured humerus, taking a tumble over the handlebars of his bike. This would have been in June 2019. This is right before season starts.
And season is the summer when all the tours show up in the mid-coast.
Memorial Day to Labor Day.
This is when you make the money.
Most businesses that are like that will make 50% of their annual revenue in a 90-day period. That's how important that is.
And he's got to take 6 weeks out.
He can do literally nothing for 6 weeks.
So he meets with the team and says, guys, we got to get through this. Help me out here.
Yep.
And one of the things he says literally to you is,
guys, I want you to bring the ruckus.
And so your way to contribute, because you're an employee, but he's your friend, you care about him, you want his business to make it, is you're going to up your donut game, and you're going to start making some chocolate ones and some, chocolate glaze and some other ones, right?
So starting that Friday aside, because I'd always have to make the glazed donut. I would always make more of those. But I started making, okay, this one has a chocolate glaze, and this one has a berry glaze, and this one perhaps has a maple glaze. And I would just do this on Fridays. And internally, we started referring to Friday donuts as the Ruckus. And this continued, and it was very popular. They'd always sell out. And it finally occurred to me that why am I only doing this on Friday? And so I started doing it every day. And I started slowly making more and slowly making more.
And the public is loving your donuts.
Selling out like
hotcakes.
Yeah, just flying out of there.
I've got a new phrase now. Instead of saying they sell like hotcakes, I'm going to say they sell like Ruckus Donuts.
Oh, there we go. That's cool. I like that.
And I'll explain to people. Yeah, 7:30 in the morning, I was there. They opened on Saturday, September 24th, and at 9:05 they were sold out.
Gone.
And that's that. They sell like Ruckus Donuts.
I appreciate that. Sounds good to me.
Better than sell like hotcakes.
All right.
But you're selling more and more.
Yes.
I think it's really funny that you had to still make a blueberry muffin.
When I was when I was still a boy, and I basically got to the point where I would have like the counter covered with baked goods, and a lot of them I was very proud of. They're all, I thought they were very good. It just became apparent that as long as I had blueberry muffins for people from away who just had to have a blueberry muffin in Maine, and the donuts, that became pretty much my job responsibilities aside from keeping the cafe supplied of bread.
Yeah, so your baking duties were, I got to have the blueberry muffin for the people that want those, and then they love the donuts.
Yep.
Okay, and then COVID hits.
Yep.
Boynton McKee you can't run their deal in a COVID situation.
No.
And Greg has a side gig, because a lot of people I've discovered in Maine have a side gig for the winter. And so he does an amazing taco food truck.
Yep. And
so it's like, we got to survive. So he tells you to make donuts, and he starts his taco truck.
Yeah. So Brian had a taco catering business called Cold Toast Tacos, primarily because he would run it in the wintertime to help supplement the cafe's income because it's not tourist season. And so coming out of the lockdown, what are we going to do? He's like, you're going to make donuts in the morning. I'm going to sling tacos in the afternoon. We're going to try this for 90 days and just see if we can keep our heads above water and pay our bills.
And you're selling donuts. You're internally call it the Ruckus.
Yep.
And now I'm going to fast forward and see if I got this right. I'm watching Lee. She's literally making donuts over there, and she can nod to me if I have the story right, because I want to get this part right. So you and her collaborate. She's kind of a genius, a marketing genius, and an entrepreneurial genius. And you're like, let's start an LLC, and let's officially, because I was an employee of Brian, even though we love him and all that. You, Ruckus Donuts, you purchased it, so it's yours, and began the journey of, with his blessing, with Brian's blessing, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. I did a podcast with a bakery in Bozeman, and he had me do another one with his employee that he was kicking out to make him become a baker. And so that guy has a bakery
That's
in
awesome.
Bozeman. They're just a beautiful story. I'll put links to that podcast below if you're listening. But similar kind of situation. So you legally get the name Ruckus Donuts. Yep. Brian gives you his blessing.
Yep.
You start building the brand. You start putting together the logo, and you go through this process of getting the whole donut shop open. And 24 days ago, Friday, August 20th, your first official day open, and you're selling donuts.
We're selling. It has been absolutely amazing. It was the most demanding, difficult, exhausting thing that I and we have ever done, because up until a certain point, we were both working still our day jobs, or as I call it, my night into day job. And then we would come here. We took over the lease here in May, and starting June, specifically July, really being able to focus on turning this into the shop that we had, in our mind's eye. And just 16-hour days, 7 days a week to get to that that August 20th.
So here's what impresses me, really, really impresses me, is that back in the day I started my culinary journey, working with Portland, Oregon food carts and writing about them and photos of them and promoting them because I love them and love the concept and the entrepreneurs and the people and the food. And to this day, the Portland food cart scene is amazing. For those of you not from Portland, Oregon, a food cart in Portland is like a food truck everywhere else, except some of our contraptions have steering wheels and engines, and some of them are on wheels, but there's no steering wheels and engines. If you put them on the freeway, they probably blow apart, but they're quote mobile in quotes. So that's what a food cart is in Portland. Let's Google it, you'll check it out. And a lot of food cart owners, I'd say, man, where's your social media? And like, oh, I don't have time for that. I go, you don't have time not to. And one of the things that I knew, I have learned some markers of dead cart walking. I'd walk up and say, oh, you're a dead cart walking. You won't make it. And one of those is no social media. And you have done a phenomenal job with your social media.
I've worked really,
Instagram.
really hard on the brand. I think it's one of the things that positions us is that you mentioned the marketing and say the creativity, and Lee, who's also, the ideas that she comes up with are fantastic. Her whole business background, and that between the two of us, we kind of like have all our bases covered as far as like what it takes for perhaps the non-open part of a business.
And so many culinary people, I understand it's tiring, it's exhausting being, a chef or starting out a winery or distill. I get it. It's in the culinary world, whatever, chocolatier. It's tiring and exhausting. But so many people say, I don't have time to do social media or Instagram, and they don't understand they don't have time not to. And you've done both, and you've nailed it. That's why I'm here.
Yeah,
you've been open 24 days, and I'm here in Maine from Portland, Oregon, because I was lured by your Instagram.
I appreciate that. And it's been a very concerted effort. When we formed the LLC and we're going to do this, the first thing I went out, as I called it, I grabbed the social media trinity. A page for Ruckus Donuts on Facebook. I got the Instagram page, and we don't use it very much at all, but I even have Ruckus Donuts on Twitter. And then also went to GoDaddy, parked ruckusdonuts.com. I made sure I had all of that lined up. And
so you must have read the book I haven't written yet, because I teach people that all the time. That is so, I tell them, buy the domain. If the domain's unavailable, start over, get another name for your business.
So I had owned all those. You alluded to that I was able to, basically the LLC we had was able to purchase all the intellectual property for Ruckus Donuts from where I was employed. Then developing the logo, developing the feel, the theme, as we call it, the vibe of the store, and just over and over and over, and just you're really just trying to build and promote the brand that way, and that we were actually quite established on the mid-coast prior to that August 20th.
Yeah, and I remember you putting, and people can go back now and look at Instagram and saying, we're coming, we're opening, it's happening, and you built up to it. And here's what's the cool, I knew, because I am intuitive off the chart, that the donuts would be amazing when I got here, and I sunk my teeth, you had me eat one of those fresh glazed ones.
Yep.
The steak matched the sizzle, baby.
All right.
I mean, the donuts are better than the social media.
Oh, cool.
And your social media is good. We'll talk about the donuts in a second, but I am so excited for what you're putting together, and you're just, by the way, the world according to Steven, and I'm a legend in my own mind.
Oh, good. Okay.
I got to start somewhere, but you're doing all the right things, and it just hats off to you. And the fact that you have an amazing wife, that's even better.
No, it's been a total team effort. We have worked together. And then just tirelessly. I mean, it's getting to the point now where it's like, it's only a 12-hour day. Oh, that's so nice. And yes, it's like compared to what we, because the space you're sitting in right now is basically, it was completely empty and beige in July.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal.
And now we had talked about if you're looking at a part of this shop, be it from a design standpoint, a decoration standpoint, a workflow standpoint, you name it, we have it, what needs to happen here to make it work for us or to enhance the experience of people who are going to be coming to see us.
And what's amazing to me is I was here, 3-4 hours this morning from 4 a.m. on till about 7:19. I was out the door off to record a podcast. I can't keep track of when at north or south, but I went somewhere else and then came back here. Because when I'm in the Oregon coast and I'm driving north, the ocean is on my left. But here it's the other way, and I am spatially challenged. I can't figure that out. It's like the ocean's on my left. I'm going north. No, I guess I'm going south. I don't know where I am. Just get my dot to that dot. But I met your team, and the individual people, chapters close and people will come and go, and one of your team members right now is your son, and maybe he'll have a different career. So the people will change over time. That's just what happens. But I guarantee you, as long as it's you and your wife at the helm, the culture will be the same. And these people are working hard. They were loving being here. They were loving it, making it happen. And so I think that is another where you've got already at the very beginning, 34 days in, you've got one of the most important seeds for success.
So our team is amazing. I mean, we have 2 working owners and 3 employees, and they're all just absolutely incredible. Everything that they bring, that's either from an effort standpoint, a talent standpoint. We're just, again, we are blessed beyond description to have all of them. To put into words how awesome these people are is that each of them get, as part of they get a shift to donut. If you take a donut, you can have a donut. There have been some days where at 9:05, all the donuts are gone, and somebody comes in, they will give up their shift donut to that customer.
Oh, wow.
And as I said, that just totally sums up, the team that we have here. They're incredible.
All right, let's talk about some of your donuts. Tell me about the glaze. Just your plain old basic, I want to say boring, but mind-blowingly amazing glazed donut.
The what we call the classic. This is when you think of a raised glazed donut. This is what everyone thinks of. It is a buttermilk brioche donut, and it is finished with a buttermilk glaze. Basically, buttermilk, vanilla, and confection sugar. It doesn't need to be complicated. And just this, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And I'm a huge believer in the KISS method. Keep it simple. And there's just something about that donut that there's a reason why that donut is ubiquitous and you see it everywhere, and it just really, a really good one of those is a really good one of those.
So I love all your donuts. The glaze is amazing, and sometimes the basic in some places isn't that good. Yours is amazing, but here's the cool thing. I would love your donuts just naked, no glaze.
That's my favorite.
Just because they're that good.
People always ask, I get called all the time, especially the rare times that I actually get to come up to the register or the counter and actually interact. I used to do that a lot, and it was always probably my favorite part of the job was the actual interaction with people around the donuts. I don't get to do it nearly as much now as I used to. But their reaction to that, and they'll say, well, what's your favorite donut? And I say, well, you really can't have my favorite donut, because to have my favorite donut, you'd probably need to be here about 5:15 a.m. In that my favorite donut is a plain donut that's only 5 minutes old. No glaze, no nothing, but 5 minutes ago it was raw dough. And it's just out of the fryer. And that's my favorite donut.
Yeah, and we filmed an episode of the Culinary Treasure Network show, You Have to Get Here, with you this morning.
Yes.
And you working those, I don't know what they're called, but donut sticks, flipping those donuts over. I mean, it was like artistry. That footage is absolutely beautiful.
It's on August 20th was the first time I did that. So it's just, that was nerve-wracking, because internally, everything we had done ultimately came down to my ability to translate. I should preface back here at Boynton McKay, when I was doing this, I was doing all of this with 2 Cuisinart 9x8-inch fryers.
And now you've got a big professional fryer.
I have a professional kettle fryer. But I had such a weight on my back that, am I going to be able to take what I've done and scale it up? Is it going to work? And that first time I dropped a screen of donuts in and they all floated off the screen, and I turned them over and took them out of the fryer, it was almost like a hallelujah chorus moment. I was like,
it worked.
It works, yes. And then that Friday was our first day opening up, and it's just been a whirlwind ever since.
Now, since I've been here in Maine, a 10-day trip, only been here a few days so far, a few more to go, I fall in love with certain people, certain food, certain places. Ruckus Donuts, for sure, fall in love with you guys and your team, particularly after this morning, because I love the story, the people, and the food. When all three come together for me, man, then you've got me.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Maine Lobster lady, Diana, the Maine Lobster, love her. And she just started, I realized from her, blueberry lemonade is like a serious thing in Maine.
Blueberry fill in the blank is serious in Maine, but yeah, that's up there.
But blueberry lemonade, yeah. And she's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, well, then I want some vodka. And she thought that was funny, and we'll fix up the blueberry lemonade. And then this morning, you gave me, I ate on camera, it was amazing, a blueberry lemonade donut, and it blew my mind. Talk to us about that.
I originally got this idea for a Maine blueberry donut in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, at a place called Peace, Love, and Little Donuts in the Strip District. It's exactly what it sounds like, this teeny tiny little cake donuts, and they do them in hundreds of different finishes, one of which is what they call blueberry lemonade. Primarily, they just dunked it in a lemon glaze, and they swirled some blueberry on it. They would, at that point, it probably could have been name of any berry lemonade at that point. But being from Maine, I thought, well, this is a good idea. I should really have something blueberry. And so I take local organic blueberries, add lemon zest, lemon juice, confection sugar. And the idea is to get to the point where you're really not sure, am I eating something blueberry or am I eating something lemonade? And the mix we have seems to just be right as far as the balance of acidity and sweetness. It's a pretty donut. And
it's stunningly beautiful. And then it's that perfect blend of tangy and sweet, and you nailed it.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I mean, I guess, I love salt. So if you could add some salt in there somehow, because I like over salt everything with French fries. French fries
that's, I said Lee's favorite donut is the salted caramel.
Oh, you're holding on to me. I didn't get one of those this morning.
We actually had 2 different caramel donuts this morning.
Well, I was working. So talk to us about the salted caramel.
All right. This is actually what I've done over the course of my culinary career is when you find a really good recipe, you kind of tuck it away. And this is a keeper. And I had a recipe for a salted caramel tart that was very, very popular. And so when it came time to start thinking of things for donuts, I was like, that tart I make prior to you putting it in the fridge and setting up, it's actually still pretty, that could probably work as a donut topping. And so it just pretty much it sounds like, butter, sugar, vanilla, and salt. And it's just that perfect blend of salty and sweet. And we use that as a base for a number of our donuts. And just as you alluded to, Lee, that's her favorite thing is to mix salty and sweet. And so that's her favorite glaze of all the ones we do.
That's amazing. Yeah, next time I'm going to have to get one of those. Already sold out for today, so I'm plumb out of luck. So you've got a Boston cream, a maple cream, and a caramel cream. And those are beautiful looking donuts.
Thank you. All the... They've all just kind of evolved. You really probably can't have a donut shop in New England unless you have a Boston cream. It's pretty much ubiquitous. Then again, also, if you think of the part of the country you're in and you have access to really good maple syrup, we've had the same glaze that would be on the maple cream would also be the same glaze that was on maple bacon. We use local organic maple syrup. And we've just recently started finishing all these donuts with a house-made vanilla Italian buttercream. And everything just looks phenomenal at the counter, and people have been incredibly responsive to them.
Yeah, I had some of that buttercream, because I love butter. Mm-hmm. I love butter a lot. I own happinessismeltedbutter.com.
Oh, cool.
That's how much I love butter. So you had me at buttercream.
Okay.
I'm like, wow, okay, I want to take a bunch of this home. That is amazing. And then you do some seasonal things, even though you've only been around 34 days.
Yes.
Because right now you did something incredible. I took pictures of Honeycrisp apples. They were beautiful. Yep. Mm-hmm. Local from the farm, right? Right near.
They're from a farm stand that's pretty well known as it's the best farm stand in Warren, Maine. And apples have finally hit. And I was waiting for this particular brand, Honeycrisp. It sounds pretty much, they're sweet, they're firm. It's a great baking apple. And it was just the other day that finally the first ones of the season came out. So I jumped and got a whole bunch of those, which we have now turned into an apple compote that we will use on an apple crisp donut. We will put it on a caramel apple fritter. Inside said apple fritter will be diced up Honeycrisp apples. And so again, always just trying to, if there's fruit in or on a Ruckus donut, it has been sourced locally, or it won't be in or on the donut.
And the other thing you do is, when you make donuts, there's a little bit leftover dough.
Yes.
And you make that into a cinnamon roll of sorts.
Yes.
And when I was filming it, it looked like a donut on one side. You flipped it over, it looked like a cinnamon roll. Mm-hmm. It was pretty amazing. And then you have a cinnamon roll of the day, which is every day you have a cinnamon roll till it sells out.
Yes.
But it might be a little bit different. It could be vanilla cream. It could be.
Sometimes you could finish it in ironically the same glaze that goes on classic. It's a nice glaze, a vanilla glaze. Sometimes we put maple on it. My son came up with dunking it in espresso glaze. If you ever think about having a cinnamon roll and a cup of coffee, he just cut out the middleman and put the coffee right on the cinnamon roll. That's
Connor.
Yes, that's Connor.
That's why they call him the Big Dog Donut Daddy.
Big Dog Donut Daddy. Then you take the same cinnamon roll, put it in salted caramel, put toasted pecans on it, and now it's a pecan roll.
Oh, I want that. I love a pecan roll.
Uh-huh.
And I just cannot wait. You make me want to fly back around December 15th to whatever Christmas nightmare nonsense you come up with.
We have some fun at Christmas. The one we came up with last year that was the most popular was what we called Ugly Sweater. It is a mint glaze. and then we just go out and basically buy the most hideous, tacky Christmas colored decorations we could find, and no two ugly sweater donuts are the same. And the whole idea is just like, oh my goodness, that thing just looks like, eloquently barbaric, but it also has that mint and everything, and it's extremely popular at the holidays.
Oh, I'm sure it's amazing. So now I know I don't want to talk about, it's too much for the audience, the couch cushion donut. We can't go there. but I know when I say what I'm about to say, you're going to be tempted to go there. But you have this catchphrase, I can donut that.
I can donut that.
You turn that into a donut. So a dear friend I have, his name is Alex, and he has Wasabi Sushi in Portland. Phenomenal entrepreneur. He's amazing. He does a sushi burrito, which is like it sounds. Just Google it, look at it. And then he does a flaming Cheeto with sushi burrito. So he smashes the flaming Cheetos, and then he rolls the exterior in it.
Awesome.
And then he does a deep fried version.
Ooh.
And it is so good. And so I think you could smash some flaming Cheetos and make a sweet, hot, like a hot honey flaming Cheeto donut.
We could do all that.
There you go. I just made it up for you.
Cool.
So I think I just love that you say I can donut that, because
I walk around, it's a blessing and a curse. It is like I look at something and it's given me so many amazing ideas that people have been, what? But if I just see something, I think about it and like, yeah, I could donut that.
Yeah.
And I can donut that.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing is, you've got the specials, which, there's a special. You've got the cinnamon roll, which it's always the same cinnamon roll, but maybe a little different glaze depending on the day. But then now and then you have on the board the whim of the day, which is just some crazy thing that you've come up with that is absolutely amazing.
It actually started out as a way for us that maybe I had enough glaze or a finish from another donut, but really not enough to do a whole, a round of them. And so, how can I use this up? And it's kind of evolved into now it's almost like a little way for us to, I don't want to say keep a little sanity or blow off steam, but just also be a little creative. That more often, usually like the end of the week, is what do you want to make today? And we'll just actually set aside, a dozen or two donuts, and we literally have no idea what's going to happen, but invariably within 5, 10, 15 minutes, we come up with something, we put it out, and that's our whim of the day. And it's always very popular and catches people off guard. And sometimes they're very simple, sometimes they're a little more involved. And it's fun for us. Patrons enjoy it, so.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so excited for your success and where you're headed. Now, I don't know if there's any church in your background or not, but I think you have Tiger by the tail, and there's a phrase I'll teach you in church that I've improved. So the phrase is, God loves you, has a plan for your life. So I'm going to switch it up a little. I think Lee will agree with my plan. The way I say it is, God loves you and I have a plan for your life.
Yeah.
Right. See, yeah. And so what I think would be amazing, even though you're only 34 days in and people are going to think I'm out of my mind, but I could see like an entire Ruckus donut empire. We'll just put you at home making nice donuts because you love to make them. We'll have Lee run the empire. But I could see you got to have one eventually, sooner than later, in Portland, Maine. I'd be happier than a pig in mud if you'd put one in Portland, Oregon. I don't know. I knew if we were in my neck of the woods, I'd say you need one in Astoria. You need one in Lincoln City. These are towns on the Oregon coast. You need one in Seaside. You could do one in Cannon Beach. We'll put one in Seattle for the heck of it. I mean, I would be banging the drum. Let's do this.
I get social media all the time. When are you going to come to a name of town in Maine? Oh, a bakery just went out of business here. It would be and I was like, I think the first one happened, we had literally been open 2 or 3 days, and someone had when are you going to put the one in here? And I'm like, I haven't made it past my first business week yet, and you're talking about a different location.
Oh, yeah, and I know I'm being crazy, but I think you need one Portland, Maine. Oh, I know another I know where you could put some, and I think Lee would love this. I've discovered there is an infestation of Floridians. Is that how you say it? Floridians?
That sounds good.
Up here in Maine. They own second homes. They come up here and visit. They summer in, I guess it's too hot in Florida for them, bless their pea-picking hearts. Yep. But they come up here. And so, Lee, would you like that, to have some Ruckus Donuts in Florida? And go down there for the winter and spend winter overseeing your donut empire down there? Oh, yeah. I think this is a great idea. Miami Beach? Oh, and you could do an Art Deco donut shop? I think this is fantastic.
Well, we got the logo for the Art Deco shop already.
Yeah.
The logo is specifically designed. If it was the logo was designed actually in reference to like when outside the shop, I wanted to create the illusion that like it looked like we had been here since the Cold War. But as soon as you open the door, it was like, yeah, this is not a 1940s donut shop. And so that was one of the main reasons behind the logo, the typeface, the design, the colors, all of that.
Yeah, so I just want to encourage you that you're onto something, because not everywhere I go to I think, yeah, they should put a bunch of these in places, but I think you're onto something. I look forward I'll have great delight in cheering you on. I'm blessed. Go to places like Bozeman once a year, and go back to the same places I love and find more culinary stories. And so, man, I'm going to come back to Maine once a year, and I can't wait to come back and bother you guys again. Have more of your donuts. It's unfortunate for both of us that I have your phone number and I'm a creative genius, because I will spend more time than I should thinking up crazy donut ideas and then texting them to you. And maybe 1 out of 100 will be good. You'll probably have to block me. But just sitting here, I just want to get out a yellow pad and a blue pen and think about crazy donut ideas for Todd's business. We'll run them all by Lee first, because she's good at saying no to bad ideas. She learned that in her previous career, overseeing things. So you're lucky to have her. But I'm just excited. I hope what I'm saying is I'm excited. The donuts were incredible. Your team is amazing. You are a gifted chef, a baker. I guess donut people or donut makers or bakers. But your wife is really good on the business end. I just think it just warms my heart. I love to see people succeed, and you're happy.
I am happy, very happy. I have always wanted to be my own boss. I have always wanted to have my own food place. I did not ever envision it being a donut shop, but here we are.
So Friday, August 20th, 34 days ago, you sold all the donuts you made. Yep. The day ended. How did it feel?
Surreal, because up until that point, it had always been idea, concept. Even while we're in here, literally just drenched in sweat trying to finish this place, it was this concept, it was this intangible that we were working towards. And there we were actually at a donut shop, and people came in and bought everything we had in a silly amount of time, and it still wasn't quite real. We both agree this, it took about a week or so before it really settled in that this is actually happening. And so it was just again, it was hard to describe, because it's still was maybe part of me what didn't want or just couldn't believe it yet. And this again, it happens again and again and again and again, and it finally this is what we are, this is what we do, and people are really enjoying it.
So just to close with this, because some people, I do culinary storytelling, and then I'm a life story alchemist, and I help people change their life story from the ordinary to the extraordinary. And I think that you have the right generation to understand some of my crazy teachings. But Rocky 1, and I know you saw that, right?
Yep.
But then Rocky 2, he actually beat Apollo Creed,
yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. And the Karate Kid did win the All Valley tournament, even though it seemed impossible. The crane and everything.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
And so I want you to just embrace the fact that dreams do come true.
Oh, we've embraced it, and it's still. I said again, it took us about a week to really just sank in that this is really happening, and that we are living this, and that we are our own bosses, and we do what we choose. We have a ton of responsibilities, but to offset that, we also have so many blessings and amazing moments that people coming in daily, and they're always just they're so happy and so thrilled, and many times they're just so thankful, and they're thanking us, and that's a little mind-blowing that we thank them all the time, and it's still they're thank you for coming to Rockland, thank you for opening a donut shop during all this craziness. During the lockdown, I would have people how are you doing? I'm doing okay. They say, no, really. No, how are you doing? You don't understand. These donuts are keeping me sane right now. And it was humbling beyond words to just be, that people were responding to something you did and do like that.
Yeah, and embrace it and enjoy it and love this chapter of your life. Revel in it. And I'll close with this. I couldn't help, like I said, I think about things. Ideas spark off me. Thanksgiving's coming, and I know some people love the homemade cranberry sauce.
Mm-hmm.
I like the cranberry sauce. You make the noise. Make the noise for the right cranberry sauce in the can.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah, I know it's not.
I've unfortunately experienced a Thanksgiving or 7 or 8 with that sound, so I've gotten accustomed to it. So.
And I'm on Team Lee. I like the cranberry sauce with ridges as well.
She's on Team Can, absolutely. So yes.
So I want what for Thanksgiving? You got to make like cranberry donuts of some kind.
Oh, we can do
like cranberry glaze. How awesome would that be?
That would be cool. We well, you haven't even seen the pumpkin donuts or things we do, or like the squash. We probably the one that was the most interesting was our riff on a sweet potato casserole.
Wow. Just don't do a green bean casserole.
No,
donut.
not green bean.
I can't do. I can't do that one. But what I could eat, it's savory, and I know savory doesn't work right now, but you can make behind the scenes. I would eat one of those fried onion donuts, because I do love me those fried onions. Those things are like crack. Have you eaten the fried onions?
Oh yeah, no. See, and the thing is that where I used to work, we had a savory donut we called the Rumpus, which is basically a breakfast donut that involved, as we said, a tasty protein, a tasty schmear, and a local egg. And it basically is like, an amazing breakfast sandwich. And so I'm hoping to, once things, get a little more settled here, to once a week, perhaps on a weekend, bring back the Rumpus, the savory breakfast donut. And at that point, a crunchy onion could definitely, be part of that. Absolutely.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. I wish you guys all the best. I'll be cheering you on. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
Cheers.